All right, so in this week's guitar lesson, you're going to learn how to play some beautiful sounding harmonies using a very simple technique. And this is like one idea. This is not like 20 ideas. It's one simple concept that can dramatically change the way you play. And it's pretty easy to do. No matter where you are as a guitar player, you'll be able to visualize and follow along with what I'm talking about. Here's what it sounds like. Now everything that I was playing there was played using just two strings, the fourth string and the second string, and I was using three different chord shapes that I was pulling those harmonies out of. So I'm going to show you how to do that. We're going to break that down over the course of two videos. In this video we'll go through the first half. If you'd like to join us for the part 2 video where we introduce minor chords and also download the tablature, the MP3 jam track, and that extra part 2 video, you can get all of those extra materials. There's also a PDF downloadable that you can download as a quick reference guide, maybe print it out and keep it in your lesson materials. So you can get all of those extra lesson materials for this lesson by going to activemelody.com, go to the weekly lessons page and do a search for EP601. All right, so there's 4 harmony shapes that we're going to learn, and they come out of 3 chord shapes from the Cage system. Now, if you don't know what the Cage system is, you can check out, I have a whole course on it at Active Melody. If you're a premium member, you can go to my account, my courses. There's a Cage system course there. Shows you how the whole thing works. I'll assume you at least know what it is. But here's the 3 shapes we're going to look at. So the first one, now, by the way, I'm going to be playing these over a D chord. So this little jam track that I played, it's in the key of D. So our 1 chord is a D. So we're going to look at 3 different ways to play a D chord, basically, to start with. The first one looks like that. That's a D chord using the A shape. And inside of this, notice when I'm playing that, I've got my pinky barring. Some of you bar this, with your ring finger, but basically I'm barring on the 7th fret. And then I've got my index finger holding down that note on the 5th fret. So the 5th fret and the 7th fret, those 2 frets. If we look at that chord, and I only played strings 4 and 2, that's one of our harmonies. Now here's how I'm playing these harmonies. I'm picking on the 4th string with my pick, and I'm using my ring finger to pluck the 2nd string. If you're a fingerstyle player, you don't have to worry about that. But anyway, that's the first one. Now you don't have to make this chord, by the way. When we play these harmonies, we're just going to do it like this with 2 fingers. It's a lot easier. The second one, you just go down 2 frets. Like that. And that's where your other finger was when you made that A shape. So inside of the A shape, now remember it's a D chord, but we're using the A shape. Inside of that, you have this and this. Both of those represent your D chord. It's going to make more sense as we get into it. Okay, we'll go to the next shape. We're going to go to our C shape. That's our D chord using the C shape. But if we look at those same 2 strings, 4 and 2, you have that. So now let's put these together. We have 3 blind mice, right? It's a harmonized way of playing that. So that's 3 of our 4 shapes. We're almost done, believe it or not. The last one we play using our E shape. So we're going to come all the way up here. This is our D chord using the E shape. I'm still playing those same 2 strings, 4 and 2. Now this one doesn't sound as pretty because it doesn't have the 3rd interval. But that's the harmony we're going to play. So we have... Those harmonies can now represent my D chord. So in this jam track that we're going to be playing, the 1 chord is a D. I'm going to use all of these different shapes to show you how you can pull these harmonies. Now let me show you some embellishments we can add to these. It's a very simple concept. We're going to look at that first one that we started with. You can take your pinky and go up to the 8th fret and use that. That's it. So we're going to use our pinky to hit all of these embellishments. So we have this. If we go down 2 frets, we can now stretch up with our pinky and hit the 7th fret. That's our second one. Let's go down to this one. We can now use our pinky to hit the 5th fret 2nd string. So we have Okay, and then we'll come up to this out of the E shape, and we've got our pinky can go down on the 12th fret, 2nd string. So we have. Now there's one little bonus one, which you'll actually hear in the part 2 video, but you can take your pinky and go up to the 13th fret and hear that flat 7. So that's your little bluesy note that you can add in. Right? You can add it into this shape. So that's really it in terms of ideas. Everything we're going to be playing now as we get into this jam track and I show you how to play everything comes out of these shapes. And remember, as a premium member, you can download that PDF little cheat sheet that you can have as a reference guide. So let's listen to the first part of this and we'll talk about what's going on. Okay, so the jam track starts by strumming a D chord, the 1 chord, and I played this. Right? And that's the 3 blind mice thing that I showed you. So out of the A shape, I slid into it, so that's the difference. So I'm starting by picking on that 4th string, and then I hit the 2nd string. So I didn't do them at the same time. I could have done them at the same time. I could have went. But sometimes it's nice to have a little stagger where you vary, a little variation in it. So those 2 notes, walk it down 2 frets, still inside of the A shape. Now we're going to go into the C shape, right? So all of that represents my D chord. One little sidebar, when I'm going down, I've got a chromatic note I could have hit. So I could have hit that note in between those. So that's another little thing you can file away as an embellishment or an idea of this. Okay, so now's where the song goes to the G chord. We have the D, then it goes to the G, quick change to the G, and then back to the D. And here's what I played. So you can hear that harmony that I played to represent the G chord. Now why? Ask yourself why. Pause this video if you need to, but why did I play this? And where have we seen this before, right? It doesn't sound so pretty, it's missing the 3rd interval. Oh yeah, when we played our D chord up here using the E shape, it's the same shape, but I played it here to represent my G chord because for the G, if I were playing the E shape, it would be here. And so all I did was I just looked for my nearest neighbor, my nearest chord voicing. And all I had to do was move 1 finger. So that was inside my D chord using the C shape, but look at this. I could keep my index finger down on that 3rd fret, 2nd string. And now I'm playing my G chord using that E shape. So all the stuff that we did for the D chord, now we can apply those same harmonies for our G chord. We just have to find those chord shapes. And this is why you have to be familiar with the cage system and know your chord voicings. It's only 5 shapes. It's not like infinite number. But I've got my G chord here. I've got my G chord up here using the C shape, which means I could play strings 4 and 2 up here. So that could represent my G up here. And then here's my G chord using the A shape up here. And look at this, I've got those 2. So now I've got the 3 blind mice up here for my G chord. And then there's the E shape. Are you seeing that now? So as the chords switch in the jam track, you're switching the chords when you're playing this harmony the same way, just as if you were strumming the chords. The only difference is you're just pulling a couple of notes out of the chords and playing them as harmonies. Okay, so now the song goes back to the D chord, and I came up here and went like this. So what's going on there? It's what we've already talked about. So we're going back to the A shape, right? Where we started, the first harmony we looked at, and then I came back up here to the D chord using the E shape. So I went like this. Isn't that a cool effect when you pick the 4th string, you slide into it like this, and then you pluck that 2nd string. I love that. There's your big takeaway. Just that one idea is just sliding in, you're picking the 4th string, and then you're plucking that 2nd string, but you can do that every time. I added the little embellishment with my pinky on that 12th fret 2nd string. Now here's where the song goes to the A chord, right? Our 5 chord. And just like we did down here where I asked myself, where's the nearest chord voicing, my nearest neighbor? I went like this. You can hear that. You can hear it switches to the A. And I got to keep my index finger down from this D chord using the E shape. And look at this. So what is that? Well, that's my A chord using the C shape. It happens to be right here, right? There's 3 blind mice for A. And then I can come down to my A chord using the E shape for this one. Right? I have all those little embellishments. Are you seeing the power of this? That's why I love this concept. You can get so many ideas out of it. And we can play all over the fretboard using this very simple technique, only playing on strings 4 and 2. So from the D to our A, and then I came down here and went like this and hit my A chord using the E shape. So after the 5 chord, the song goes back to the 1 chord. So let's think about what we're doing here. I'm always kind of looking for my nearest chord. Now, you don't always have to do that, but it sounds more, there's a continuity that happens when you do that. And it sounds a little more fluid sometimes. So we played this for the 5 chord to represent our A chord. Actually, we did it like that. Now the song's going back to the D chord, so I know I've got a D chord here using the A shape, so why not walk it up chromatically? So if you know you're going from here to here, you can hit that note in between. You can do it every time. You don't want to highlight it or land on that note for long, but as a passing note, listen to how cool that sounds. Isn't that cool? Now we're back to where we started. And I played that, brought that down 2 frets, back down to here, my D chord from the C shape. And then the song goes to the G chord again. And I played the same thing we did before. G chord out of the E shape with a little embellishment with my pinky. And then back to my D chord out of the C shape. So now we're on the D chord, and I came up here and went. Isn't that cool? So up to the D chord using the E shape with that embellishment with my pinky. And then I came back down here. Now notice I'm using my ring finger and my pinky. That's just what seems easiest for me. You could use any fingers that work for you. But that's just how that's what's working best for me. So it's. Then we go to the 5 chord, and then back to the 1 chord. So that 5 chord, which is our A, I play that using the E shape, and then back down to here for my D chord out of the C shape. And I tagged it like this. Now, why did I do that? That would be the equivalence if I was strumming chords, if I was just playing like cowboy chords. Sometimes you do that. You go from the 1 chord, you hit its 4 chord, and then back to the 1 chord. And so using that concept of the D to the G and back to the D, I did that with the harmony. All right, so are you liking this lesson so far? I hope you are. Leave a comment below and let me know. That always helps me to gauge what's working and what isn't. If you've got questions about anything, you can leave those as well, and I do read all the comments and try and answer them. But come join us for part 2, where we'll go over the second half. I'll show you minor chords. We're going to introduce that in the part 2 video. And there's another part of that song that has a minor chord in it. So remember, as a premium member, you'd get access to that part 2 video, the jam track, the tablature, the cheat sheet, all of the extra materials for this lesson. All right, I hope you've enjoyed this. I'll see you in part 2.